Hey there, Chiefs Kingdom. Welcome to another exciting update here on Total Chiefs. Today, we've got a topic that has had a significant impact on the Kansas City Chiefs offense, the injury of one of our most promising wide receivers, Rashee Rice. If you've been following the team closely, you know just how much his absence has been felt, especially in a season already full of challenges. Let's rewind a bit. Last season, the Chiefs' wide receiver core was hit hard by injuries, but none were as damaging as Rashee Rice's injury in Week 4 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Rice, who had been looking like one of the top playmakers on the team, tore his LCL during that game, which ultimately forced him to be placed on injured reserve for the rest of the 2024 season. This was a major blow, not only for him personally, but for the team as well. Without Rice, the Chiefs' offense struggled to find that reliable receiving option week after week. Now, I know you're probably thinking, how big of an impact did this have? Well, consider this. Rice was one of the few players in the Chiefs' receiving core who could stretch the field and be a consistent threat. Without him, Patrick Mahomes had to adjust and look for other options. It's safe to say that the lack of a dynamic, go-to receiver was a noticeable factor in the offense's struggles last year. Before we dive deeper into his recovery and what's next, I want to hear from you. Do you think the Chiefs can get by without Rice for another season, or are we seriously missing a key piece? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and activate the notification bell. Your support means a lot, and it helps us grow closer to our goal of 4,000 subscribers. Let's get this team growing together, Chiefs Kingdom. All right, let's now turn our attention to where Rashee Rice stands in terms of recovery. What's going on with him today, and when can we expect to see him back on the field? Let's take a look. Please review this first chapter, and let me know if you're ready for me to continue with Chapter 2. Just send the letter C when you're ready. 40 Mini. Você disse, CO ChatGPT dice. Chapter 2, The Case of Rashee Rice. What we know so far, 400 words. Now that we've set the stage, let's talk about Rashee Rice's injury in more detail and where he stands in his recovery. As I mentioned earlier, Rice tore his LCL in that tough Week 4 matchup against the Chargers, which ultimately put him on injured reserve. For those who might not be familiar, an LCL injury can be a bit tricky. It typically requires surgery and a solid recovery plan, with a general timeline of about 6 months for full recovery. Rice had surgery on October 14, 2024, and initially, this placed his potential return around April 2025, which is right about now. But here's the thing. Recovery times can vary from player to player. The 6-month mark is just an estimate, and sometimes it takes a little long given an official return date. Head coach Andy Reid recently provided an update on the situation. He mentioned that there's no exact timetable for Rice's return, but the good news is he's doing well. That's encouraging, but it also tells us that Rice is still in the process of getting back to full health. The timeline might be a little longer than expected, but the fact that he's progressing well is a positive sign. It's worth noting that even after the LCL heals, there's still the issue of getting back into football shape. That means more work to regain strength, conditioning, and explosiveness, something that could take a few extra weeks after his knee has fully recovered. While this is all part of the process, it's still uncertain exactly when he'll be ready to make his return to the field. I know you're probably thinking about the bigger picture. Here, what does this mean for the Chiefs? Can we expect to see the same dynamic player that Rice was before the injury? I want to know your thoughts. Do you think he'll bounce back stronger? Or do you have some concerns? Drop your comments below, and let's chat about it. As we look forward, we'll dive into how Coach Reid feels about Rice's progress and what's in store for the next phase of his recovery. Let's see what's coming next for the Chiefs' promising young wide receiver. All right, let's dig into what the man at the helm has to say, Coach Andy Reid. You know him, you trust him, and when it comes to injury updates, his words carry weight. During the team's first official day back, Reid was asked about Rashee Rice and tight end Jared Wiley. While his answer might not have been packed with details, it still gave us something to work with. Reid said that there's no firm timetable for Rice's return, but he made sure to emphasize that both Rice and Wiley are doing well. Now, if you're like me, you know Reid doesn't throw around those words lightly. That phrase, doing well, may sound vague, but it's Reid speak for we're not rushing this, but we're happy with how it's going. This kind of cautious optimism is actually pretty smart. The Chiefs don't want to put unnecessary pressure on Rice, especially not after a serious knee surgery. Bringing a player back too soon could risk re-injury or slow development, and with Rice's importance to the offense, that's a risk the team simply can't afford. So what does this mean for us as fans? It means patience, and honestly, that might be the best strategy. Reid is a coach who's been around long enough to know how to handle player development, especially with someone as valuable as Rice. He's going to make sure Rice is physically and mentally ready to return before putting him back out there. But now I want to ask you, do you agree with Reid's approach? Or would you rather see the team push a little harder to get Rice back by training camp? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing your takes on this kind of stuff. And hey, if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, don't forget to give the video a like. It helps the channel more than you think. Also, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any updates. We've got a lot more coming your way. Coming up next, we'll talk about what Rashee Rice's return could actually look like on the field. What kind of impact can we expect in 2025? Stick around. This next part is where things get exciting. Okay, let's talk about the future. Because if there's one thing every Chiefs fan is excited to see, it's Rashee Rice back in action. When he does return, there's no question he has the potential to completely revamp the offense. Let's remember who we're talking about here. Before his injury, Rice had already put up 24 receptions on 29 targets for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns in just 4 games. That's not just solid production, that's game-changing ability. He was quickly becoming Mahomes' go-to weapon, with the kind of route running, hands, and field awareness that you simply can't coach. And it's not just about the numbers. Rice has the rare ability to stretch the field, work the middle, and take pressure off guys like Travis Kelce. That versatility opens up the entire playbook for Andy Reid and gives Mahomes the kind of freedom he thrives on. Imagine a fully healthy Rice lining up again in 2025. How does that shift the entire dynamic of the offense? Of course, returning from injury isn't just a matter of healing physically. Rice is going to have to rebuild chemistry with Mahomes, find his rhythm, and most importantly, regain his confidence on the field. But given his work ethic and how highly the coaching staff speaks of him, there's every reason to believe he'll come back strong. Now here's a question for you. What role do you think Rashee Rice should play in the offense next season? Should the Chiefs ease him in as WR2 behind someone more established? Or should he reclaim that top spot as Mahomes' primary target? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get a conversation going. Better yet, let's turn this into a poll. Vote on how big of a role Rice should play once he's cleared to return. And hey, if you're new here and loving the Chiefs talk, hit that subscribe button and join the growing Total Chiefs community. We're building something special here, and your support helps us bring even more content your way. Coming up, let's wrap things up by looking at how Rice's recovery could shape the team's strategy for the upcoming draft, and what this means for the Chiefs' 2025 season as a whole. All right, now that we've unpacked Rashee Rice's injury, recovery, and what he could bring back to the field, it's time to look ahead, especially at the 2025 NFL Draft and what this all means for the Kansas City Chiefs' plans. Here's the deal. If the Chiefs' coaching staff and medical team feel confident that Rice will be ready early in the season, or even just a few games in, this could significantly shift how they approach the draft. A fully healthy Rice means Kansas City doesn't necessarily need to prioritize wide receiver early on. Instead, they might use those high-value picks to strengthen other areas, maybe offensive line depth, maybe a pass rusher, or even a developmental tight end to eventually take pressure off Kelsey. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Even if Rice returns, at full strength, injuries have taught this team the value of depth. You can't have too many weapons, especially with Mahomes under center. That's why this draft still matters, a lot. But Rice's recovery status gives Veach and the front office more flexibility and clarity as they make those calls. So, what do you think the Chiefs should focus on in the draft? Should they trust Rice's return and go defense heavy, or play it safe and still grab a WR early just in case? Head down to the comments. I want to hear your strategy for draft day. And if you were GM for a day, who would you pick? As always, thanks for riding along with us here on Total Chiefs. If you haven't already, now's the perfect time to subscribe and turn on that notification bell. We're bringing you all the key updates as the draft unfolds, training camp heats up, and the 2025 season gets closer. Let's grow this channel together, Chiefs Kingdom. We're pushing toward 4,000 subscribers, and your support truly makes all the difference. Until next time, keep repping red and gold, and let's hope Rashee Rice comes back stronger than ever. See you in the next one.